But I think the biggest benefit that you get of staying in a company is new geographies, new job role, new
manager,
managers.
that's a very important thing. Yes.
It's just like a new job.
If today, suppose you're 26-year-old and you want to join any organization, would you be thinking for a long term or not? Why? Whatever the answer is, why? When should somebody decide to switch?
24-year-old kid from Ranchi, Jamshedpur, who kind of started his journey in the cricketing world, long-haired guy,
Acha, acha.
around the same time.
Nobody has to guess his
Correct.
name. MSD.
Yeah, MSD, right?
Sure.
So he typically a leader, and I was also then kind of, a fledgling leader, and I was thinking, why is this guy not going?
If a fresher wants to get hired into any big company like Tata or Big Four, okay, what should they focus beyond just the creating good CV?
Yeah, good CV is a must because that gets you into the room.
Question where you got a very good answer.
More than the answers, I would focus on the questions that people ask. But I think I would really hire a guy who is asking me the right questions.
Because I've seen a lot of talented people who are extremely good at what they do, but they are not doing in the organization. They're not getting promotions. What could be one or two things that they're missing out? But what about office politics? How do you manage that? The young professional starting his career journey, how he can start saving or investing? Any few one or two tips that you can share? Last closing question now. Imagine a 23-year-old watching our podcast now. What is from your side 3 tips that you would tell him about life, about investing, about anything? 3 tips.
I think if you have to choose between growth in salary and growth in capability and skills and learning, I think I will always go for the learning path.
Hello guys, I hope everybody is doing good. Hi, this is Ganesh Nayak. I help finance professionals and students to excel in their career and become a better version of themselves. And I also help students preparing for competitive exams in finance like CFA, FRM, and SCR. And as a part of that discussion, I also meet a lot of people from the industry trying to get knowledge from their experience and how to make a career in finance in the industry. And today I'm with Rajesh sir. He is Managing Director and CEO of Ananta Finance, and he has a vast experience in the industry, and he's going to be talking about his journey, some corporate truths, why he shifted from corporate to now what he's doing, and everything. So we have with us Rajesh. Rajesh, thank you very much for taking out time. A brief about you for the audience, sir.
Thank you, Ganesh. Thank you for inviting me for this session. Um, you know, from a brief perspective, I can say that for the last 3 decades, I have been in the corporate finance. I have been in the corporate world, and out of that, approximately I would say 25 years was spent with one of the largest telecom companies in India as well as globally.
Okay.
15 years in leadership, roles out there. And now I have been retired for almost 2 years. And in the last 2 years, I've spent time getting myself certified on the certified financial planning course.
Okay.
I have also opened up a company called Ananta Wealth, where we actually do certified financial planning for individuals. I do certified courses for corporates on financial planning.
Okay.
And I'm also an AMFI mutual fund distributor and an insurance advisor. So there's a whole world that I do around finance right now.
Wonderful, wonderful. Now this is our first section where we're going to be talking about corporate truth, which primarily nobody talks about. Now, first question, which is around that, is you mentioned 25 years in Tata Communications. Now, spending such a huge time in a company, because right now people prefer switching jobs. So, loyalty or switching job? What is your take on that?
Oh, interesting. Interesting question. And I think there have been times when I've thought about it in the past. If you honestly ask me, I don't see this as a loyalty issue. I see this more as whether you're ready to compound yourself or you're wanting to coast yourself, right? So that's, and I'll try and explain that to you, right? Because it's slightly on a different topic. So the 25 years that you spoke about that I've spent in the organization, yes, it is in one organization, but in different roles. So there have been at least 5 different roles, 5 different job descriptions, 5 different managers, all of that, right? So even if it sounds like one company, for me, it sounded like 5 different companies.
Okay.
And that's how the work happened out there. Apart from that, what doesn't come out in the LinkedIn profile is actually how, loyalty benefits you. Many times people look at it negatively. But I think the biggest benefit that you get of staying in a company is when you make a decision, you don't have to run it past multiple people with multiple presentations.
Okay. People will trust you on with that
people
as
trust your judgment, right? And so what
Okay.
you build with loyalty is also reputation in the organization. And I
Okay.
think that becomes a very, very critical piece
Hmm.
if somebody is looking at, why should you stay within an organization and so on and so forth. I think that's very important because reputation and trust is what is going to carry you forward in your entire life. There's a negative part of loyalty also, right?
Okay.
And I just
Okay.
want to talk about that so that your audience is very clear about that part also, right?
Okay.
So when you talk about loyalty, sometimes it also becomes a cage for you. Because sometimes what happens is, people expect that this is all that this person can do.
Hmm.
So I think what you really need to look at when you look at loyalty and those kind of stuff, it is about loyalty to yourself first. More importantly, loyalty to your learning slope.
Okay.
I think that's the piece that people need to really look at. So if you do
Correct.
the right kind of learning,
Hmm.
correct, and your slope is upwards in any organization. So whether you're there for 1 year or whether you're there for 25 years, it shouldn't matter to you.
Okay.
What should matter to you is the learning slope.
Correct.
Correct. So
And
that,
even though when you move, like you mentioned, you moved into different teams. So each team will have a new set of challenges, new set of
absolutely new geographies, new job role, new
new
managers.
manager. That's a very important thing.
So
Yes.
it's just like a new job.
Correct. Correct.
So I would say if somebody wants to think about loyalty, think about the learning part of it. If you're learning in an organization, if your slope is looking good, stay. Because
Okay.
if you don't do that, then I think many times, sometimes loyalty becomes, something that you have worn as a dress. Okay, and it is more inertia.
Okay.
If you just stay there, if you're not growing, it becomes inertia. It's
So
actually
you
inertia.
mentioned about the flexibility part.
Hmm.
So the when you're for the new generation, I think so. What you're referring to, just correct me if I'm wrong, that the company is flexible enough to give you better opportunities within the ambit of their scope or work, ideally.
Yes, but I would say if you want the company to be flexible, first you have to do the hard work yourself. You have to learn new skills. So if you are going to stay in the same skill sets, why would the company look for something new for you?
That's a very very good point, very valid point. But you have joined an organization where you stayed for long, 25 years later back, right? If today suppose you're 26-year-old and you want to join any organization, would you be thinking for a long term or not? Why? Whatever the answer is, why?
Yeah, again, interesting question, and you made me think on that one. But I would still stick to it. I might not change, 5, 7 company, or I might not stay for one company at all. It might be 3 or 4 companies max. But I think there will be a change. But don't take me wrong; it's not because of any other reason, not because of lack of loyalty or something. But I think things have changed today. When I joined, the company that I joined 25 years back or 30 years back, uh, you could get into one particular skill, one particular role, go into the depth, understand it well,
Okay.
and monetize on it for the next 20 odd years.
Okay.
Okay, that was the world I was living in. Today the world has changed.
Changed. Okay.
Correct. With AI coming in, with AI doing what they are doing, I think skill sets are kind of getting replaceable much faster than what it used to be in the past.
Correct.
Correct. 18 months, 24 months, 36 months. I think that's where. So if I look at it as to how I would have looked at it today, then I would say I would have looked at, am I skilling enough early?
Okay.
And is my role and my capability matching the salary I'm taking? Okay.
Oh,
And if it
okay.
is not the
Okay.
case, if that's not the case, then I would rather look for
Okay.
some other. And I would say it's more about me and myself, skilling myself to ensure that I get the right kind of a job profile.
Okay. Now, so connecting to this point that you mentioned that you might change 3, 4 companies. Okay. So when should somebody decide to switch? Now it can be a new organization or it can be a same organization but a different team. What should be that trigger point or what should be the decision factor that okay, now I have to change from your experience?
Yeah, I think I can talk from experience on this side of the table and that side of the table, both the sides, right? Because of being in one company for
Yes.
25 years.
Yes.
So I think things that came to my mind, and when I started looking for different roles within the organization outside, I think first thing is again going back to the capability, correct, and scaling. So sometimes what happens is you have been doing a job and you have been doing so well that the next week doesn't hold any fear for you,
Okay.
or even sometimes
Nothing new basically.
yeah, even sometimes the next 1 year doesn't hold a fear for you. That's the time when you should know that you have actually plateaued from your learning perspective. because nothing new is coming out there, right? So I think that's one thing that each and every individual, and it's something which is self-realization.
Okay.
So once you start realizing that you've plateaued, learning has stopped, you should start doing that. That's one. The second thing I think, what you realize over time is when your organization stops resourcing you in the function that you are in, stops giving fresh resources, starts paying attention to what you're doing in your own function.
That's the time when you
That's
should
another
really-
time
yeah.
that you should start thinking whether this is the right, and especially if they are going to resource some other function and spending more time in some other function.
So you're not the function might not be important right now for the
Right now
organization.
for the organization, right? So that is a call you need to, because you need to go where action is happening if you want to be a
Grow. If
career
you want to grow,
growing.
correct.
Then that's the second one. The third one I think, which is also important, is your leader actually supporting you? Does he have your back, right? Is he talking to you as often as he used to talk to you earlier? Correct. Or is he now?
These are all signals, basically.
These are all signals, right? Because you cannot wait for the end to happen when he tells you, oh, you are no longer required. These are all, he stops feeding you. He stops taking you to the senior leadership. He doesn't expose you out there. Now, these are times when you should realize, because I think, this is not the place. Whatever had to happen, I'm not being fed. I'm hungry, right? I need to be fed nutritious food.
Correct,
So if you don't
correct,
get it, I
correct.
think that one. And what actually towards the end came to my mind, I think what's also important is you need to believe in what you're doing always. Correct. And when that belief has gone away and you're defending something that you don't believe, and it happens in organizations.
Okay.
Right. You are expected to defend things which you don't really believe in. I think that's a telltale sign. Okay, that's a telltale sign that
You have to move now.
you have to move, and it's not worth it. It's not worth it for yourself. It's not worth it for your team, and it's not worth around. But what you should not do is obviously go because of a bad quarter, because of appraisals going wrong, because those are the mistakes that people also make. That, oh, bad quarter,
There's no
bad
bonus
appraisal.
this year, so we'll leave. Correct.
And the last thing I would say is, don't go because, or rather stay because you are scared to go out. So many people also don't go. So they are scared what's out there for them in the market, right? I'm saying these are things, if people can take care, I think they should be good in their careers.
But very, very interesting points. But I have a follow-up question that if, for example, you look at your own journey, any one incident, any event that has changed your perspective on, say, leadership or growth, because from the start we are talking about skilling. So anything that has happened in which you might be able to recollect.
I think there's one incident, because this has, and more so, I think after my retirement, I've been reflecting on it, right? What has been my leadership style in some sense? What has worked for me in 25 years? It had come multiple times during my sessions also, or during my career also. I don't want to talk about one incident, but I would like to talk about an individual who actually shaped the way I actually kind of thought about leadership and those kind of stuff. And there was this 24-year-old kid from Ranchi, Jamshedpur, who kind of started his journey in the cricketing world, long-haired guy. Around the same time.
Nobody has to guess his name. MSD.
Yeah, MSD, right? So I think he started his journey around the same time I would have started my journey from an leadership perspective.
Captain.
2004, 2005 is when he came in. He became the captain in 2007. Around that time, a couple of years earlier is when I started my leadership journey within the organization. And definitely many people will talk about this, but the World Cup 2007, I think, laid the foundation of how my leadership will go forward, right?
Okay.
And two incidents which come to my mind. One was definitely the first match against Pakistan, and many people will talk about that also, but I'll tell you my perspective as to what I saw there. So first match, Pakistan, if anybody who's a cricket fan out there would know, we were kind of in a bowl out situation. So you needed to get bowlers to bowl to the stump. It was a very unique
the
rule.
Final one. No,
yeah, the final. No, not the final. The first match against Pakistan.
No, after the tie, you
after
have to.
The tie.
There's a golden hour.
Absolutely. So if you had seen the Pakistan team, they put their premier fast bowlers into the match because they went by hierarchy. They decided, yahi hierarchy hai, these are the guys who will bowl for that particular thing. Whereas MS Dhoni ne hierarchy nahi dekha. He looked at who has practiced this. That's what he said later on. The guys who are practicing this art of hitting the stumps,
Okay.
So he chose Robin Uttappa, he chose Virendra Sehwag, and he chose Harbhajan Singh because the probability of them hitting was
Is
much
much
higher.
more. Okay.
So the important point out there is the guy who does the job best, pick him up. Hierarchy shouldn't matter. Okay, so that's something that stayed with me from there onwards. The other thing that stayed with me was also in the finals, the famous Joginder Singh final and all that
The
stuff. Right?
final catch.
Yeah, the final catch, 13 runs to win. I think second ball play there was a six which was hit, and the reaction that Dhoni gave then, calmly standing behind the stumps, typically a leader. And I was also then kind of, a fledgling leader, and I was thinking, why is this guy not going and putting an arm around Joginder Sharma's, shoulder and telling him what he should be doing, because he's supposed to, he's the leader of the team, he should be telling him what needs to be done. If possible, even take the ball and bowl the ball, right? Because you always feel I can do a better job.
Correct.
But he did none of that. He just stood there calmly. He held his nerve. He ensured that Joginder Singh, he has been chosen for the job, so he knows what needs to be done. I will give him the liberty. So I think these two things made a big
Very
difference.
interesting
Very big difference in the way I started looking at it, because otherwise people always will look up to the leader and say, oh, he's going to come and save me. So when you know that your team is looking around, you don't need to do that if you have given full trust on someone.
Correct.
And just to add to that, I think, the way it helped me is there's one deal that we were doing, and this happened around 2-3 years later, 2012, 2014, I think. And we were kind of working very hard on that particular deal. A lot of people, said that this deal is ours, and it was very critical for it. It was a large one. Towards the end, we realized that competition has gone and mapped the highest level in the customer's place.
Okay.
Correct. And here we were, working with the guy on the ground who actually had done 6 months, 8 months of deep research, deep work, and suddenly everything was going for a toss. So we got together and said, what's next? And then the person on the ground said, Rajesh, I have done the job. I know what needs to be done. They might reach wherever they want to reach, but these are the two individuals who matter in that organization. They will make the decision in our favor. So at that point of time, it was a very critical decision I had to make. Should I go in with the full artillery, full team from our side, senior leadership, mapping? So that's what you typically do. Correct, and you ask the ground guy to stay away from the deal. We will now manage it. But we decided against that.
Okay.
In 6 weeks, we got the deal.
Wow.
So trusting the individual to deliver. You have to pick the right individual, but I'm saying trusting that becomes very important.
Interesting. We'll start with the second segment. So this is hiring, promotion, and office politics. Now, if a fresher wants to get hired into any big company like Tata or Big Four, okay, what should they focus beyond just the creating good CV? What 2-3 things they should focus?
Yeah, good CV is a must, because that gets you into the room. That so definitely he has to. So
Correct.
Anything that I say is not
apart from good CV. Yeah, apart from good CV. Yes.
Yeah, apart from good CV, I think when I used to look at freshers, right, I would say one thing is clarity of thought. Okay, because that's something which doesn't come from the resume. Correct. So you need to look for that during your interaction, right? So if you can actually get yourself with a good clarity of thought in front of your interviewer, which means don't use jargon beyond a point.
Correct.
Okay, so just get clarity in your thoughts and show the other guy, okay, I can break this down into simple measurable steps. So if you can get that, I think that person is an interesting person to work with. Okay. That definitely is there. The other one I think would be more around easy detail oriented. I think that's something that I can figure out simply by asking about our own company. What has he really wanted to come for, right? If he's going to only tell us about us and not talk about P&Ls and how the company can do well and all that stuff, which means he has not done a detailed study, which means he's not a detailed work. I'm not bracketizing him, but that gives you an indication as to
how much serious he is about
and how detailed he will work going forward. So these two things though definitely come to my mind. And the last one I would look for is always accountability. Okay, because many people on the resume talk about I helped and I worked with this guy and I did this and I put a model together and all that stuff, but nobody says who owned the model. Okay, if something goes wrong, are you accountable for it? Are you ready to take accountability? How do you judge
that whether the person is accountable? Do you ask specific questions?
Yeah, in those sessions, depending on the response that you get from the person, you are able to then relate and ask, where does that accountability lie, right? If something goes wrong, then who is accountable? Who is responsible for it? It cannot be somebody else. If you're taking that accountability, then you understand that, okay, this, because at the end of the day, you're going to work with the gentleman for a long period of time. Right? So you need someone whom you can trust a job with and who's ready to, see, it's not about going wrong in something. you can definitely go wrong. You can fail.
But at least you will take that responsibility.
So that you can correct it for the next
Correct.
time.
But one connecting question over here. So, like you said, you have been asking these questions to judge people. Any question where you got a very good answer? Do you remember any in the interviews that you have taken, spoken to a lot of people?
I don't think right now I can think of it, but I know that more than the answers, I would focus on the questions that people ask. Because
Acha,
answers,
if the candidate is asking, okay, okay.
because the answers can come. Okay, it's depends on the individual. But I think I would really hire a guy who is asking me the right questions in terms of how his career going to move, where is he going to go the next,
Okay.
what is in it for him, and many other things which tell me that he is interested in the job.
Correct.
Okay, so I would rather kind of look at that. Answers might not be
Interesting.
Mm.
But and as per your experience, because I've seen a lot of talented people who are extremely good at what they do, but they are not growing in the organization. They're not getting promotions. What could be one or two things that they are missing out?
A particular level, if you really ask me, up to a particular level, capability does matter. Okay? And if you're capable enough, then up to a particular level, I think promotions come through. Okay? Because there are specific metrics, number kiya, ye kiya, you go forward.
Correct.
Right? After a particular level, I think that's where things become interesting. Okay, because it's not only your judgment that matters in that
what
role.
other people think about
Yeah,
it.
so there's a cross-functional team which comes in. So I think sometimes people mistake it thinking that only my boss is important, nobody else is important. Correct. So what is important is he needs to realize that when the boss is going to his boss, the boss is putting his reputation online.
Correct.
If he's going to recommending you.
Correct.
So if you are not doing the right things around you, the boss will not have the confidence to put you up front there. Right? So if you are not working with a cross-functional team the way you should be working with a cross-functional team, if you look down on your juniors, if you are the loudest guy in the room just to become right always, so those things get observed. And those are the things that you should be really careful about when you're looking at.
So it should be visibility with responsibility.
100%. After a particular level, I think temperament matters more than really the capability.
Because you're going to be taking decisions for the company. Correct.
So your temperament is going to really decide. It's not talent alone. Your temperament is going to decide how far you're going to move in the organization.
So very, very, very interesting.
Otherwise, appraisals पे सब अच्छा दिखता है. Appraisal अच्छा होगा, career progression शायद रुक जाएगा. So that is what I think.
And more importantly, just a connecting thought, you people will not give you responsible work.
Yes.
You'll not get the opportunity to 100%. Lead a team or go somewhere.
Egos come into play because you're trying to become a bit more egoistic than you should actually be.
Correct.
And that's not something that helps you in your organization.
But what about office politics? How do you manage that? Because every organization, especially I have students from banking side, and I'm sure they must be listening to me. Okay, there's a lot of politics because it's a public sector company. I can understand private there would be politics to a certain level, but how do you manage that? And when you look at the growth of your career, it's your take.
Interesting question, but I have a very simple answer to it, right? Because many people feel that politics is wrong. Okay. And there's something really bad in politics and all that stuff. I don't think that is the truth. Okay. And I also don't think that you can stay away from politics. It's a part of a corporate culture. What you can do is you should distinguish between good politics and bad politics. Correct. Because see, every organization is going to work with a finite resource list. Okay. Correct. So you are always going to be competing with some other functional head, some other individual in the organization. And they might have the right reasons why not to give you that resource and all that stuff. So that's where your office politics actually helps you. Okay, and I would give it a good name rather than talking about politics. I would rather say this is stakeholder management.
And you see that in the CV, JD also. That stakeholder management, one of the important skills. Correct.
So that's a skill that I think everybody has to develop, because if you are not going to develop that skill and stay in this monk-like state, like saying that, oh, I don't go into bad politics, I don't play politics at office and all that stuff, I believe it's also an abdication of your responsibility. You are at a particular position.
Correct.
It's not only you. There's an entire team which is behind you, who's dependent on you.
Okay.
Correct. So you need to be careful about that, and you need to be ensuring that you're doing the right kind of stakeholder politics. Yeah, don't get into bad politics. You don't have to bite somebody else and tell that you don't have to get a coalition together to fight somebody else and ensure
don't create unnecessary trouble
for others. Don't go behind the back and then bite against someone else. who's competing with you for the same resource. You don't need to do all that. You don't need to take credit away from people. So as long as you're able to do the right part of it, I think you will do well.
Okay.
And that's why out there my role model is actually Rahul Dravid. He was never the loudest in the room, but he was always in the room.
Correct.
What is important is if you're not in the room, somebody else is going to make a decision on your behalf.
Okay.
So it's important that you play the politics, but be clear in terms of what kind of politics you want.
Interesting. Now, just coming back to the career question, if I am a 26, 27-year-old guy and I want to move within my organization, switch within my organization, as per you, which team or which area I should focus on to get the maximum growth that I can? When I'm talking about growth, it's not monetary, it's entire holistic growth. So, what do you think as per your experience?
I think in whatever learning I've had in so many years, I think the closer you are to the business, okay, because that's
the revenue
where
generating.
Yeah, the revenue generating arm, right? That's where the P&L is actually
Correct.
made, right? So you're closer to the business. I think that's the space that you should work in. So for a typical finance, because I understand you guys are going to be more finance graduates, so I think anything related to, let's say, business finance, okay, or he could be, let's say, commercial management, pricing, okay, because that's again going to be very close.
Correct.
Underrated, but I think
Closer to sales. Basically.
Yeah, closer to sales. Investor relationships, because you're expected. It's very underrated, but somebody is getting the whole company background, and 20 minutes he's supposed to present as to what the company is doing, how it's going. So it's a skill by itself.
Correct.
To be able to present that in 20 minutes and be kind of heard. So I think some of those pieces are what M&A. I think anybody who wants to get into that, M&A is also a good area to work with. So those are things that I would say, if somebody wants to work that space. And there are many certifications, right? Because see, what happens is sometimes people go along this certification collection spree. You don't need to do that. You first decide the lane that you want to get in.
Correct.
And then decide which
area,
lane
which job roles
I want to work for. And then you, whether it be the CFA, whether it be a CA or CMA, FRM, or there are many things that you can really look at. But then first decide the lane is what I would say.
Correct. You should know where I'm going, then the journey will start. Now we are starting with the third segment, which is money investing in CFP, because you have done CFP. So first question is, what is the biggest money mistake young professional, people who have started out their job 5-6 years into the job, what is the one mistake that they normally do in terms of investing?
I've been in the CFP, position now for the last 1.5, 2 years, and I read a lot of stuff, and I think one of the common things that I read, at least, the perception is that people are not investing enough. That's the perception that is out there, right? I don't think that is necessarily true. Okay. The only thing I think is what is true is you don't actually scale up your investing as per your salary scale up. Okay, you try and invest in the next EMI to buy the next flashy car or the big new rental that is out there, the house and all that stuff. You spend a lot of time on the EMIs, whereas actually you should be spending time on increasing the percentage. It's the savings rate. I would focus on the savings rate than the amount that you need to focus. So whatever is it, just ensure that your saving rate is commensurate, correct? Because honestly speaking, if you do the numbers, okay, somebody who is saving, many people actually focus on the rate of return. I would not ask them to focus, at least when they're starting off, not on the rate of return, but focus on the time that you can spend the return, the time that you can spend in the market to ensure that the return gives you the maximum.
Correct.
And if your saving rate, for example, if you save, let's say 10% at 14%, okay, and vis-a-vis you save 30% at 8%, you will always find that the guy who has saved 30% at 8% has made more money after 20 years than the guy who has saved 10%.
So the base is also bigger, no?
The base is bigger. So it is not the rate of return is important. What is actually important is
how much you're saving.
How much you are saving.
Correct. Now within this, I just have one more question. If somebody is young professional starting his career journey, how he can start saving or investing? Any few 1 or 2 tips that you can share?
Oh, I can give a full story on that, because I think there's definitely a framework that people have to look at, and I think there are 6 or 7 steps, and it's easy for anyone to become wealthy. I have a firm conviction around that, right? Whatever be your income, okay, you need to first get that right. What is my income? Get that right. Once you have understood that, you need to work your expense part of it, which is important, in a framework.
Okay.
Okay, because there's only you or your organization who's paying you money to get the money into your pocket, but there are many people out there sitting to take the money from you. So you
Correct.
need to work on a framework. Correct. And that framework would be, I think, 50, 30, 20. So if you can get 50% of your money invested for your needs, 30% of your money for your wants, it's a very commonly used framework, but unfortunately, people don't use it the way it's supposed to be, right? It gets spoken about, but it doesn't get used. But if you want to take care of your expenses, 50, 30, 20, 50% needs, 30% wants, 20% savings.
Okay.
If you can get started there, you have got your income and expense, which means you've got an investable surplus available. Once you're
Perfect.
cleared on that one. Once you get your investable surplus,
Mm-hmm.
first thing many people go and do is they go and look at the best saving available. I would say
FD.
FD, whatever it is. Okay, but I would say step back, because before doing that, you need to first do two other critical things,
Okay.
which is first protect yourself from an insurance perspective.
Health, life,
Yeah, take care of your risks that can happen, because you've got a long life, you've got a long career. Investments will happen over the long career, but you need to protect so that before something happens and all your investments get pulled back because you didn't protect yourself well, because those expenses will be much higher. Medical expenses, accident related expenses. So you protect yourself for all these critical illness, protect from all this, and then move to the next step,
which is the
which
investing
is
part.
creating an emergency fund.
Acha, right. I
Create
forgot.
an emergency fund so that if Mr. Trump or anyone else comes in, you don't get forced to remove your money from the equity markets. You've got a 6-month window at least, or if there is any emergency at home, you don't have to invest, remove from the markets, because the only thing that works in the market is time. So if you put some money in the market, you put some money anywhere else, you have to give it time to compound, because compounding is the only way that is going to make you money. So you need to finish this, and then you move to the last bit, which will be investments, and then there are multiple options out there depending on short term, long term, because that is also important, that you have to do a goal based mapping. Whatever is short term, you put the money in liquid funds. I don't suggest FDs, but liquid funds, and then hybrid for anything which is 3 to 5 years.
Okay.
Anything beyond 7 years, equity. So, but this all will be goal based plan. So if you can get that framework right as a 23-year-old, I think he will go a long way in firing himself at 40 or 45.
And you've done CFP, so who should perceive CFP as a course? And what is the benefit?
I think everybody should pursue CFP, but the reason why you pursue CFP should be different, right? It cannot be that I'm going to get maximum returns or identify an investment which will give me maximum returns, and that's why I will do CFP, because CFP is not going to do that. Correct. What CFP is going to help you is with getting a framework created, a framework under which you can actually build wealth over a long period of time. Correct. So anybody who is in the finance industry and in personal finance, could be a mutual fund distributor, it could be an banker who is trying to sell some of his products. Most of them are selling products. They don't give a holistic well-being of the individual, right? So I think CFP helps you identify the framework, identify the rules, explain that to customers, so that he looks at it from a long-term perspective and not from a product short-term perspective.
Okay.
So I think those are the areas where CFP should help people.
Okay.
Because when a 50-year-old guy is sitting across the table with you, okay, he is not looking for the highest returns at that point of time.
Correct. He needs safety.
He needs safety. He needs a framework. He's saying, how are you going to cover me if there is risk which is there? And CFP helps you with all that, right? Cash flow management, risk management, estate planning, all that comes together.
Correct. This is interesting. Now, one more segment which we're going to be starting out is career growth and making the leap. So first question which I have in this, many professionals want to switch in finance from other domain, okay? Is there any roadmap that you can give to them in terms of career switching? I'm suppose going from operations to finance. What should I think? How should I plan?
Yeah, I think out there, the first thing that people, as I said earlier, was decide your lane. Okay. He needs to, because finance is also so wide, right? There are multiple elements to finance. So you first need to decide which of that lane I want to get in, right? Is it M&A? Is it corporate finance? Is it capital markets? Because these are the lanes that you have.
Correct.
So you need to first decide where you want to get in. That is going to be a critical one. And once you have decided that, I would also say that many people try to change the domain as well as the function. Correct. I would say stick to your domain, because that's what you know the best. You have done this for 5, 7, 10 years. If you want to do finance, then do the finance in the same domain, rather than
Okay.
just going out there and searching for a new domain and trying to change two variables. Changing two variables is a very difficult job. Changing one by one, I think, is much more easier.
Okay.
Correct, because somebody who has been in, let's say, supply chain, correct, he understands commercials, he understands the gaps out there. So commercial pricing,
So you
kind of a role.
move into supply chain finance side.
Correct. Finance side, and you can look
Okay.
at that only, right? Within the same organization, within the same domains, within the same industry, taking a finance job instead of doing a supply chain job might be more,
Correct.
he will be able to add value to that organization.
Correct. Correct.
Correct. So I think that is important. And then unless and until you really work it through for a year, 2 years, add your reps, I don't think you should move to anything else.
Last closing question now. Imagine a 23-year-old watching our podcast now. What is, from your side, 3 tips that you would tell him about life, about investing, about anything? 3 tips.
3 critical tips. Then I need to go back to what I started at the beginning, right? I think if you have to choose between growth in salary and growth in capability and skills and learning, I think I will always go for the learning part of it. I think that's the important piece. So if you have to really start putting your attention at the start of your career, then I think build your capabilities. Okay, sometimes people get lost thinking that मेरे को salary ज़्यादा चाहिए. Salary, yes, everybody needs salary. But I think if you have built the capability, salary will follow. Salary will be a lag, but it will follow. But if you have only brought the salary, many a times you will end up defending the salary. because your because your capabilities and skills are not commensurate to the salaries that you are getting. At some point of time, you will keep defending that. So I would always say that even if it's a lag, go for the capability building. I think that will help any individual who is starting off, right?
Okay.
The second thing I think people make a big mistake is, again, I'm kind of summarizing of all that I've spoken, but I think if you have to make a choice, then make a choice for a boring investment like SIP, rather than making an exciting choice for a new EMI. So
or an investment to a very hot startup.
Or a hot startup. So I think, if you can avoid those kind of mistakes, correct? Because portfolios can be built over time. Correct. So, but if you lock yourself into a new EMI and all that stuff, it will not give you the time to compound. And compounding is the biggest thing that you can, if you can understand that earlier, is the best. Correct. Because as I said, compounding is something that takes time. So when you're building your career, you're building your skills and those kind of stuff. Earlier part, if you do both of it, right? Actually, you should have 2 engines working for you. One engine, which is your career engine. Second engine, which is your compounding engine. And why is it important to ensure that your investments are going at the same time? It's primarily because compounding is all about time. Many people think that 23 से 40 मैं बहुत काम करूँगा, career में growth करूँगा, and then I will start investing at 40.
Okay.
But by 40, you have lost compounding. Correct. The benefit of compounding, and it's not going to come back. Correct. So you have to run both these engines parallelly. One is focus on career, ensure that your skills are in place, all that is happening. But even if it is 5,000 rupees, 10,000 rupees, ensure that you have started your investing journey early at 25 and not at 40, 45.
Correct. And why? Because right now also, like you mentioned, everybody is focused on earning more.
Correct.
Not investing more or creating that wealth more.
Correct.
So very good point. Yeah. I mean, I think so our audience would love.
There's one more you asked me for. So there's something on my mind which is very close
to
me.
Please,
it has always been close to me, and that's why I will talk about it.
Yes.
Because there is a thing like reputation and trust, right? So if you really have to take care of something in your life very early, I think reputation is something, and it's just like your medical illness protection policy, right? So do everything that you can do, because these are illiquid assets, but these are the most critical assets that you will need. Okay, reputation and health policy, because if something happens to your spine, you have lost it for life. Similarly, if something happens to your reputation, you have lost it for life. So if you can protect these 2 things well, I think as an individual who's starting off his journey, these are 3 tips which would help them. Interesting. Wonderful. I mean, thank you very much, Rajesh, for taking out time, because this conversation is going to be very fruitful for our audience who is young, who wants to make a career in finance, wants to learn a lot of things. From your experience, we talked a lot about loyalty with office politics, growth, then also about the investing.
I think so this conversation is going to be really helpful for us. So thank you again
Thank
for
you,
taking
Ganesh.
thoughts.
Thank you for having me here.
Thank you.